The moment he stepped into the arena, he thought he was just another challenger, another face in a line of contenders who had all come, and failed, before him. Across the field, she stood like a living legend, a warrior unmatched in skill, speed, and cunning, her reputation echoing through every corner of the galaxy. She had fought dozens, defeated hundreds, and had vowed that she would obey only the one who could best her in combat, a promise she had kept for years, leaving countless would-be conquerors broken and humiliated. Yet now, as their weapons clashed and sparks flew, something unexpected happened. He survived her attacks, countered with ingenuity she hadn't anticipated, and finally, in a single decisive moment, he defeated her. Not by brute strength, but by strategy, instinct, and courage. She froze, eyes wide with disbelief, a mixture of respect, curiosity, and incredulity crossing her face, and for the first time in years, she felt the weight of her own vow pressing down. She had been bested, and now honor and her promise bound her to him in a way neither of them fully understood. Chapter 1. The duel begins. The arena was alive with anticipation, the air thick with tension, as the crowd waited for the legendary warrior to face her next challenger. He stepped forward nervously, unsure how he had ended up here, an ordinary man in a world of heroes and killers. She stood across from him, poised like a predator, radiating confidence and lethal skill that had defeated every opponent before him. As the bell rang, their weapons clashed, sparks flying with every strike. Her movements were fluid, precise and overwhelming, yet he dodged, countered, and used ingenuity over strength, surprising her. The fight was tense and close, each exchange testing courage, reflexes, and strategy. Finally, in a decisive moment, he landed a move she hadn't anticipated, and she faltered. Silence rippled through the arena. For the first time in years, she had been defeated. Her eyes, wide with shock and admiration, locked onto his, and she whispered, almost breathless, "So, you are the one who could best me." That single moment changed both of their lives forever. The crowd erupted, but the human barely noticed as he stood frozen, staring at the warrior before him. She had not expected to lose, and her pride wrestled with the promise she had made long ago, to obey only the one who could defeat her. Slowly, she lowered her weapon, her breathing steadying, and approached him cautiously. Every step carried the weight of her reputation, the countless victories and the lives she had changed through sheer skill and dominance. He was terrified, yet fascinated, realizing that the woman in front of him was not just powerful, but legendary, and he had earned her acknowledgement. She studied him with keen eyes, evaluating his courage, his intellect, and his worthiness, while he struggled to comprehend the reality of her vow and the responsibility now resting on his shoulders. Humor and fear mixed in the tense silence as she finally spoke, her voice low but resolute. "From this moment, I obey only you." The human swallowed, knowing that his ordinary life had ended the instant he had defeated her in combat. Living with a warrior who had vowed obedience to him was unlike anything he had imagined. She refused to leave his side, her eyes always assessing, analyzing, and occasionally teasing, as though testing the limits of his patience. Even mundane tasks became moments of tension. Her pride and independence clashed with his attempts to maintain normalcy. She would correct his posture, insist on training routines, or challenge his decisions in subtle ways that kept him on edge. Yet beneath the intimidation, he noticed glimpses of vulnerability, small pauses, hesitant gestures, and rare smiles that hinted at a complexity hidden behind her formidable exterior. They navigated this new arrangement like a minefield, each step requiring awareness, tact, and courage. Slowly, he began to understand her motivations, the experiences that had made her unyielding, and the loneliness that accompanied being the most feared warrior alive. Humor, stubbornness, and unspoken understanding wove between them, creating a fragile balance that neither had expected but both needed. In these moments, he realized that surviving her was more than skill. It was learning to earn her respect every day. Their peace was short-lived. News of her defeat had spread across the galaxy, attracting rivals, bounty hunters, and old enemies eager to reclaim honor or exact revenge. One particularly dangerous mercenary ambushed them while they traveled through a crowded spaceport. The human panicked at first, realizing he was no match for trained killers, but the warrior stepped forward effortlessly, neutralizing threats with lethal precision. Her movements were mesmerizing, each strike deliberate, controlled, and devastating. Yet she protected him, allowing him to contribute in small but meaningful ways. The human's ingenuity, quick thinking, and ability to anticipate danger impressed her, revealing a new level of trust. Together, they escaped, narrowly avoiding capture and leaving behind enemies who would not soon forget their defeat. That day, he realized survival with her required more than courage. It required cooperation, intelligence, and the willingness to adapt to a partner who was far beyond ordinary. By the end of the battle, mutual respect had grown, and the bond forged in life-or-death circumstances began to take shape, transforming fear into something more complex and compelling. With danger temporarily behind them, the human noticed her quirks and learned her limits, discovering the layers beneath her lethal exterior. She began to test him in subtle ways, giving him responsibilities, evaluating decisions, and observing his reactions during moments of tension. He learned how to anticipate her combat style, communicate non-verbally, and make choices that aligned with her logic. In turn, she began to appreciate his creativity, problem-solving, and resilience, acknowledging the qualities that had allowed him to survive her duel and navigate perilous situations alongside her. Their interactions were filled with humor, frustration, and occasional tension, but they were also laced with moments of understanding and trust. Slowly, the human realized that being bound to her was not just a burden. It was an opportunity to grow, learn, and influence someone whose life had been defined by victory and fear. They became a team, balancing lethal skill with ingenuity, and each day, the invisible threads of connection deepened, building a partnership neither had expected, but both now relied upon. Their growing partnership was tested when a former rival of hers tracked them down, seeking revenge for a humiliating defeat in a previous duel. The warrior's calm confidence masked a simmering fury as she assessed the threat, while the human felt the tension tighten around them. He realized that this battle was different. Not only were they fighting for survival, but also for his ability to command her loyalty and earn her trust in the heat of conflict. The rival attacked with skill and strategy, pushing both of them to their limits. The warrior moved with effortless grace, protecting him while simultaneously dismantling the enemy's offense with precision. The human contributed his own ingenuity, devising traps and diversions that kept them alive. Together, they prevailed, leaving the rival defeated and humbled. In the aftermath, she looked at him with a mixture of admiration and respect, acknowledging that he had grown into a partner capable of standing alongside her in battle, not just someone she obeyed out of a promise, but someone she now trusted implicitly. After surviving multiple threats, the human and the warrior found themselves alone in a quiet location, away from enemies and chaos. For the first time, the warrior allowed herself to relax, revealing moments of vulnerability, humor, and curiosity that few had ever witnessed. They shared stories, personal philosophies, and reflections on the lives that had shaped them. The human discovered that her obedience wasn't just about victory. It was a test of character, trust, and compatibility. And he realized he had become indispensable not just for survival, but emotionally as well. Their bond shifted from mere necessity to connection. Laughter, shared experiences, and mutual respect created an intimacy neither expected. While she remained proud and fiercely independent, he noticed the subtle ways she sought his input, guidance, and companionship. By the end of the day, it was clear that their relationship had evolved beyond the promise of obedience. It had grown into a complex, unspoken partnership built on trust, respect, and the beginnings of something far deeper than either had anticipated. In the aftermath of battles and bonding, the human realized that life with the warrior would never return to normal. She remained by his side, loyal not out of fear, but because he had earned her respect, trust, and admiration. He, in turn, embraced the responsibility, understanding that his influence, decisions, and courage shaped not only their survival, but her own choices and the balance of power around them. Together, they faced the future as an inseparable team, ready for new threats, adventures, and challenges that the galaxy would throw their way. She had promised obedience only to the one who could defeat her, but now that promise had transformed into something richer: companionship, partnership, and perhaps the beginnings of love. Standing together, they looked toward the horizon, aware that danger was always near, but confident that as long as they were together, no enemy, challenge, or obstacle could stand in their way. Their story was just beginning, and the galaxy would never forget the duo who had forged strength, trust, and loyalty in fire. As the chaos of battles and rivalries faded into a temporary calm, the human finally understood the truth of his new reality. Life with her would never be ordinary. She, the undefeated warrior, had sworn to obey only the one who could defeat her, and he had done just that. But their bond had grown into something far more than victory or obligation. She stayed by his side, not because she had to, but because she chose to, her respect, trust, and subtle admiration anchoring her loyalty. He, in turn, embraced the responsibility, realizing that every choice he made now affected not just their survival, but the balance of the galaxy around them. Together, they stood as an unstoppable pair, ready to face whatever challenges awaited, rivals, threats, or the unpredictable twists of fate. The promise that had once been a rule had transformed into partnership, companionship, and perhaps even the beginnings of love. And as they looked toward the horizon, it was clear that their story was only just beginning, and the galaxy would never forget them.